as I look to the horizon, not a cloud, I've been storming with a scope too cold. Seems like it crept up out of nowhere, all around you is not what you foretold. You never see it coming. You see that my mind is too fast for eyes. You're done. By the time you see you, you're not surprised.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News. We were doing some research on something completely separate, and we ended up coming across a video by a YouTube channel called The Know. If you guys know anything about them, they do like video game news, and they also do stuff related to YouTube also. It's a really good channel. You should go check it out. I'll leave a link to this particular video in the description because you should check them out. You know, we're not haters over here at DSP News, despite the person that we report on is very much a hater. Anyway, we are here to talk about a video that they just did called YouTube Crackdown on Patreon and Alternate Revenue. Now, does this affect DSP? Not really, actually. Believe it or not, it doesn't actually really affect him because the size of his channel and his viewership, he's way beyond having to worry about this. But could this be a prelim to something that could affect him later on down the line? Now, as you know, at DSP News, we are not actually very, what's the word I'm looking for? Preemptive. We're lazy news. You know what I mean? And whether you like us or hate us, that's what we do. Okay? Lazy news, lazy commentary, beautiful women. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much what we do. A little bit of comedic action in there if we can. But this right here I thought was important. So, I'll go ahead and play the video. Here we go.
Welcome to The Know. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Gus.
Alright, you guys, we've got another YouTube controversy on our hands. It's putting the service against content creators who, once again, are accusing the platform of threatening their livelihoods.
Didn't we do the story already? Haven't we done this story many
We've
times?
done this story many, many times. This is yet another development in the ongoing saga that is YouTube versus their own content creators.
Well, it's another example of YouTube cracking down on what channels can and cannot do.
You're not my real dad.
And throughout it all, channel owners keep complaining.
Sounds like Leanne. Anyway, it's interesting because, you know, DSP always talks about, you know, how the very people who made YouTube what it was and made them all this money turned around and shitted on them in some way, shape, or form. That's another reason why I wanted to go ahead and make this video and present you with this, because yet again, it kind of gives a little bit of credence to DSP. At times, when he's not talking out of his ass, he has a point, but only to an extent. Here we go.
The changes are making it harder and harder for them to support themselves.
Okay, so here's the latest controversy. It involves the end cards of videos, which no one clicks on, but it's, well, no one clicks on ours, but maybe they click on other people's. So it's the part at the end of the video with all little boxes where we all urge you to subscribe, check out our other videos. This is where we tend to put our outtakes and our goofs. Or there's a lot of people who also use it to ask their loyal fan bases to donate to their crowdfunded Patreons. And Patreon is a popular way for a lot of content creators to raise money as opposed to allowing advertising on their channels, which you might remember has become a lot harder on YouTube for a lot of creators these days as the platform has been cracking down on what types of videos can and can't be monetized.
Okay, recently YouTube announced some changes that yet again have video creators riled up and confused. Recently, it announced that users must now join YouTube's partner program in order to add end cards with external links. But the catch is, the partner program limits the end cards to channels with 10,000 total public views or more. And signing up for the program prompts YouTube to manually investigate the channel to ensure that it's meeting community and advertising guidelines.
All right, now Google, which...
Excuse me. Now, the reason why I stopped it there is because here at DSP News, we've come to realize that as many other DSP detractor channels, that a lot of us seem to have a level of foresight in some way, shape, or form. And as they're about to explain, the reason why YouTube is doing this with smaller channels is to avoid the type of abuses that allowed some, keyword some of the big channels to become big. So it should only make sense that somewhere down the line that some of those larger channels will get hit too. Right now it's those who have 10,000 views. Then eventually it'll get to those who have, maybe 10,000 subscribers, 50,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers, and so on and so forth. DSP may very well catch the hit later on down the line with this whole YouTube program. Now granted, most of you are going to probably be like, well, hey man, it's no big deal. He's under a partnership. That's true. But at the same time, the partnership programs, or the MCNs, would very well be under the same jurisdiction, and I use that word loosely, but jurisdiction of YouTube. They would still have to bend to YouTube's will if YouTube chose to want to investigate some people that they would have possibly singled out under certain suspicious or anomalies, I guess. And being that DSP has a background of, ad program, asking his fans to click ads, and, his AdSense being removed and all that nonsense, which is something that, speaking of which, and this is just a little bit of DSP logic. Why didn't he just, when he lost his Google AdSense all those years ago, why did he never try to appeal Google to get it back? And the reason why I say that is because there's been a lot of other people who pulled that bullshit. It wasn't just DSP. But the thing is that they would appeal back to Google. Google would be like, all right, well, you admitted that you did this, so you take a 2-year ban, and then we'll give it back to you. Now, most of you are like, well, he has an MCN, so it wouldn't really matter. That's true. But at the same time, though, too, your Google AdSense is rather important. I'll be doing videos later on down the line going into that whole fiasco with Machinima dropping him, and then Laveria, and then Kotabi, or whatever that nonsense was. We'll get into that, and this will make more sense then. But he could have appealed for that and actually have gotten his AdSense back, and he didn't do it. It was almost like it was one and done for him. Like, once it was gone, it was gone. Yet again, just DSP logic. But anyway, so this may affect Phil somewhere down the line later on. So let's keep going.
Owns YouTube says it's doing this because it's found that some of the end card screens are being used in ways it considers harmful to users.
A spokesperson told Polygon, creators are being asked to join the YouTube Partner Program so that we can evaluate the validity of the channel as well as determine whether the channel is following our community guidelines and advertiser policies. This update is meant to curb abuse and does not affect current YouTube partners or existing end cards.
Although they didn't really go into what sort of abuse it entails, it's already pretty restricted. So after a channel joins a partner program, they can then add their Patreon links, and they don't have to turn on monetization in order to use them. That's pretty important. That's something that a lot of people have been worried about with this development. Meanwhile, non-partners can still link to outside sites in the video description, but obviously that's way less prominent than an end card.
Yeah, nobody reads those, believe me. The whole episode royally pissed off some people who were confused as to why this was happening right after YouTube announced its new sponsorship model. That new model lets viewers pay a monthly fee to their favorite creators, similar to what Twitch does, and some people wondered if the changes were an effort to push YouTubers to drop Patreon in favor of this new sponsorship model. One
YouTuber, Ian Danskin of Innuendo Studios, also noted the 10,000 views threshold and tweeted, "Small channels with dedicated Patreon supporters are effed." I think he means fudged.
Yeah, fudged.
He added, "I've known many YouTubers who were happy to get 200 views on a video. That 10,000 threshold is a long way off for them."
It's a long, long way off. Another person with a YouTube channel, the popular musician Jack Conte, tweeted, "This would be hurtful for creators and for Patreon if true."
Now, this change is coming as Patreon's being used more and more by a lot of YouTubers, especially now that YouTube's been cracking down on what can and can't be monetized, and a lot of creators are finding just mass demonetization across their channels. Like ProCD's been finding that, and that's a shame because he's a funny dude.
Funny.
It's had huge impacts all across YouTube as a lot of channels, not just ProZD. We had one on Glitch Please because of a title name, and we had to have it manually reviewed. But we were fortunate that we could have it manually reviewed because it had enough views to get that. Not everyone does. And
now, Phil's brought up some of the same points that was brought up there. So, yet again, Phil isn't completely inept as it pertains to some of his circumstances. He may have not have been truthful on how it really affects him, but as the circumstances moving forward, he is right on some of it, just not to him. It's hard to play a victim all the time. DSP News.
A lot of people are still trying to figure out what it is that is flagging these videos for demonetization, what YouTube will accept. It's not clear.
If only they could tell us.
If only. But then, but Gus, then we'd know what to do.
Mashable report.
In truth, it's right. If they're right, if they were able to, if YouTube was more transparent, as Phil has said, then we could fix the problem on the YouTube content creator side. The problem is, though, is people like Phil game the system. So the reason why YouTube, I would suspect, as everybody else here at GTG Network suspect, that the reason why they haven't told us is YouTube is trying to find as many loopholes as possible and plug them before they actually become a bit more transparent. Yet again, I would also assume that, one, YouTube isn't really that profitable, to be perfectly honest with you. And then with recent actions between certain large channels that we won't name here, it's made it a lot harder. It seems like the YouTube content creators, in their frustration, especially the large ones, have lashed out in certain ways, whether they think it's funny or not, and has essentially put a stranglehold on YouTube, which in turn Google is probably going to be quick to cut throats if they need to be. With that being said, something similar to the WWE and the massive purge of wrestlers that is going to happen at any given time. Oh, Dolph Ziggler, I hope you make it through it, but you probably won't. But that's all right. You're probably better off in Japan anyway. It's very possible that YouTube's going to need to do it like a scorch and burn, where they may very well need to just completely start over. And so, is it possible that Phil's, in his foresight, if I want to say that he even has that, is it possible that, him moving to Twitch was probably the best thing for him at this very moment? And YouTube is really nothing more than the rotting horse that the vultures are just picking what little bits they can out of it before moving on. I'd love to hear your opinion. DSP News.
That one popular YouTuber who runs the channel Onage Pranks says he's tried to contact YouTube, but he often can't get a clear answer on why some videos get demonetized. He told Mashable that Patreon and other ways to supplement income are crucial, especially when there's just no guarantees with what YouTube is going to do. They could just flip the switch on you at any time.
So then you kind of have to ask why YouTube would be doing this at all. Why, your creators are already feeling cracked down on. But by requiring people to sign up for the partnership program, it seems like what YouTube might be trying to do is further monitor how channels are monetizing users. Now, from a business standpoint, purely business, and that's what YouTube is. They're not your friend, they're not your buddy, they're a business. They're going to try and keep as much revenue on their platform as possible, as opposed to, say, letting creators just send their viewers elsewhere, like Twitch or Patreon, to give them money. I mean, that's not good. That's not a good business move. So, that's good for Twitch and Patreon, not YouTube. And YouTube is definitely doing less and less these days to help channels that aren't monetized push people elsewhere.
But those efforts from YouTube have definitely caused friction with its audience and creators and the larger YouTube culture, which still has a watch-it-for-free mentality as compared to platforms like Twitch, where viewers regularly give money to support channels.
Yeah, they've got to throw money at the screen mentality on Twitch.
Bits. Right? It's bits?
And cheers,
bits and cheers,
and
all that stuff.
You can call your money whatever you want and throw it at the screen, and they will take it.
Yeah, and of course YouTube is clearly jealous of that and is trying to incorporate more of that into its own platform.
Hence the sponsorships. You can now buy custom emojis and the rest of the Twitch feature list. And now YouTube's running into a lot more trouble when it comes to its live streaming efforts, though, because as we mentioned in the roundup, you may have heard a little bit about this. Nintendo is now restricting live streaming of its games on YouTube in particular. So, yeah.
Woo! So, yet again, has what Phil said, DSP, come to fruition? Is it possible that when all those years he was going on and saying, fuck Nintendo, has it, apparently Nintendo wants their money. And Phil said that he won't work for the man. He won't give his money up. So, what do you make of that? What's your feelings on it? DSP News.
No doubt that it's getting tougher and tougher to be a YouTuber these days.
Ultimately, we don't know the reason why YouTube is doing this, but it's worth noting one more interesting point that might be relevant.
Tell me, Gus.
YouTube still might not be profitable after all these years. At least as of a year ago, Despite the millions of hours of content that people watch on the platform, YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki said last year that the site, which has been around for more than a decade now, is still in investment mode.
That's a long time. That's a long time to be in investment mode.
And she said there's no timetable when it comes to being profitable.
Right. So if YouTube isn't currently making money, maybe they're feeling pressure from Google to do so. How long can you go and not make any sort of profit before you get cut loose? Kind of hard to say. It also means that, you know, we like to think of like YouTube as this giant corporate conglomerate that could just afford to throw money every which way, but they're not making money. So that's actually kind of tough, and it explains why they might be feeling under so much more pressure from the adpocalypse to correct that and get revenue back into their platform. So I don't know, we'll have to see, I guess. At any rate, it's going to be interesting to watch how the moves are received by YouTube's network of creators and the audience. Because
all right, so let's put an end to that. I just wanted to get that out there and kind of make it so seem a bit more professional. So what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on this general information that, as I said, doesn't affect Phil now, but it could affect him later on down the line? What are your thoughts if you or someone that you know who are an upcoming YouTuber and looking at what YouTube's doing and how they're trying to cut off Patreon and other alternate revenue streams? How do you feel about Twitch or YouTube trying to copy Twitch? And actually, even though I think at one time Google had a chance to buy Twitch, and they just never did for whatever reason. They just decided through YouTube they could go ahead and create their own avenue. But then again, with so many people being banned off Twitch at any given time, I mean, maybe it's a good thing they were able to stream from YouTube. But anyway, what are your thoughts on all this? Do you see something that maybe I don't see? Is it possible that Phil was right, or Phil just got lucky, as usual? I never think that Phil is actually right. I just think he's fortunate. But what are your thoughts? How do you guys feel about it? Let me know in the comment section below. If you guys have a comment, and I'll holler at you guys later. End the video.
Fuck! Oh no, it's still the same combo. Okay. I thought it reset. This guy is so good. He's so good. Literally hit me once. This game fucking sucks. This is not a fighting game. This is a bitch game for cowards. People who don't even understand fighting games.